Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the show where members of Team MagicJank get together and discuss various magical gatherings and things that are going on right now in Magic. And today we got a good one. So my name's Graham, go by Hammox42, and I'm joined by Carlo, C. Favorite Jr. How you doing, man?
Hello, hello. What's up, everybody?
And then we also have Headology in the house. Hello, hello. Welcome.
Hello, hello. I'm in the lovely OTJ theme tonight. Any excuse to wear this hat, honestly. I've had it for like 20 years since Australia, so since I visited Australia. So
it's a killer hat, I gotta say. I'm a little jealous. Oh, nice.
So we're full Crocodile Dundee here.
I dig it.
With a terrible Aussie accent.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get you worked up later so we can hear that. And like a rant with an Aussie accent, I think would be a great job. Just saying. All right. But yeah, so we have a lot to talk about. I mean, this is the first week after Outlaws of Thunder Junction has hit Arena, so it's out there, and people are naturally experimenting with these cards in various competitive formats. And of course, we have Headology with us, so we're going to be discussing Limited. If you're not familiar, that's kind of the expertise. And when you get the right experts on the show, we gotta take advantage and dive in. And this is a weird one. Like, this set has a lot of stuff going on a lot of different levels. We've talked about the bonus sheets and whatnot in the past, because obviously it's kind of the big thing, but it has a pretty significant impact on various formats as well as the limited environment. So yeah. And there's loot. Excellent.
Loot.
Oh my god, it's cute.
So for folks who are only doing the audio, Carlo has the loot plushie, which is riding the microphone right now with the cowboy hat even. Amazing.
It's got a hat.
It's too good. That's
the
adorable.
Hat makes it.
Fantastic. And by the way, if you are doing the audio version of this, it is available also in video over on YouTube, which is linked in the it should be linked in the description. It's also just the Team MagicJank on YouTube is where you can find all of our podcast episodes if you want to see our lovely faces. All right, cool.
I recommend it. The loot is really cute.
The loot's pretty adorable. Yeah, it's funny. There's certain pictures.
I felt bad after I got it because the folks at my LGS said they only got one in, and I bought it on the Friday of pre-release weekend.
Oh, let's go.
Nice.
Well, I mean, this is kind of flavorful to only have one, right?
I suppose. Yeah. When I first saw Loot's
everything.
Yes, the key to everything. When I first saw Loot's original art, I remember kind of thinking, it's like, wait, so it's kind of like a weird, stylized, League of Legends character. I don't know how I feel about this. And then I saw the promo art, and it was like, okay, that's adorable. Or the showcase art, and it's like, all right, I'm in. Like, it's yeah, okay, Loot's cute. You got me. All right.
But actually, so this particular thing is actually a dice bag. So if you wanted to bring loot with you to your LGS, you just open up the back and you put your dice inside.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, amazing. Functional and stylish.
At least they're not coming out of its butt. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Lower back, it's fine.
I mean, or it's a missed opportunity, depending on how you think about it. But yeah.
True. It is booty from loot.
I mean.
Okay, sorry.
Gotta get that looty booty. All right. Anyway, yeah. Okay. So now So yeah, we have a couple things we want to talk about today, and one of the ones that we want to get into is absolutely we wanted to start with standard. We talk a lot about constructed and constructed competitive formats on this podcast, so let's just go ahead and start there because we know that obviously these cards are insane. Like we all know the set has incredible bombs, and we have seen a handful of cards really step in and start making a name for themselves pretty much right away. And Carlo, I know you've got access to some league results or some MTGO results. I'm very curious to see what is really showing off there, because I know we have cards like, I'll just say it, I'm not burying the lead. Slickshot Show Off is an established. I mean, it has created a variant of the mono red deck. I mean, mono red prowess is now a deck that you see, a deck you'll see on certain deck trackers.
Yeah.
That is separate from mono red aggro, even though they have 70% overlap, but whatever. Yeah, it's one of those.
I don't think we Dragonauts needed haste. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, this card is, I think we talked about this last time, in terms of the power level of the cards in the set are really high. And this at rare is a card that is multi-format playable. So, and different decks that you could play in standard with this at the moment. like mono red, of course, comes to mind. Yeah, you can play a sweet mono red build with this. You can play, a blue red version if you want to get frisky with Balmore from Dominaria United.
Wizards.
Yeah. You could play a Gruul Prowess deck with Questing Druid. Because that card also, surprisingly has like a Ren's Resolve card on half of it. That lets you, exile the top 2 cards. You may play them. And then, of course, you got Questing Druid that just grows every time you play a red spell. Yep. So that has now found another home for this card outside of like the Picnic Ruiner deck, which is pretty nice. But yeah, Slick Shot Show Off is a powerhouse. Like the deck will kill you turn 3 or turn 4. And that's supplemented by cards like Monstrous Rage from Wilds of Eldraine, which was already crazy with Monastery Swiftspear.
Yes.
You get to play burn spells.
Monastery Swiftspear?
Yeah, it's still standard legal.
They could make this card.
And believe it or not, it's in Brothers War, so it's going to be here for a while. You get to play cards like Play with Fire, which is an upgraded, significantly better shock. That lets you scry. You can even play Demonic Ruckus, which is a new card from Outlaws of Thunder Junction that you can plot for a red, and it gives the thing +1/+1 trample and menace, and when this goes away you draw a card. And if you want more enchantments that let you draw cards afterwards, there's Audacity. So I mean, all of these cards help trigger Slick Shot Show Off and grow it to be a really high power. The card does have a pretty good weakness though, and that is lots of removal works against it. From cut down, which thankfully most of the cards you're playing on this only buff its power rather than the toughness.
You got to be careful about your timing on cut down with this thing, but yeah,
for sure. And Wizard is not an outlaw type, so Shoot the Sheriff hits it. Go for the Throat. Anoint with Affliction if people are still playing that card. Long Goodbye, which can't be countered.
There's a whole host
cards.
There's a whole host of deal 2 damage 1 drops that can
removal, but you better have that removal.
You need to have instant speed removal for it, or you're gonna have a tough time. Yeah.
And in terms of gameplay, like playing against this card, it just means that you can't play like whatever you want your turn 2 or 3 play to be. You just have to have the removal up in case your opponent goes for a kill. And that's the scariest part of this card. And the ability
from sort of playing their deck as they wish, huh?
Right. So it does have that play, and the fact that you can plot it away for later, your opponent can be like, "Hey, I have this card." Definitely don't try playing your next turn play. Just presents a unique gameplay experience I don't think we've had before. And honestly, I like that about plot because you do know what's coming, even though it is for free. A lot of cards take advantage of this ability outside of just limited. I think it makes for good limited play. I like plot. I don't know, Headology, do you like plot and limited?
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah, I dig it too, and the thing I find fascinating about plot is specifically with interaction and and counterplay. Because that knowledge that the opponent has of what's coming is really valuable. In a case of if you're playing a red deck and you have a Swiftspear down, but you plot away a Slick Shot Show Off, okay, maybe I had, like a Voltage Surge or something in my hand that I could have used to take out your Swiftspear, but now I know, nope, I'm going to hold this back. I need to save it. Because that information is a cost. Like, it's a significant cost of playing out the plots. But I love the way they interact with counterspells. Soft counterspells get really weird because, I can't interact with you plotting it, but now that it's there in exile, I can hold back counters to deal with it. But even then, if I hit you with a No More Lies on turn 3, when you try to cast this out of exile, if you have 3 mana open, you could just pay for it.
Right.
Now, that's still worth it if that's my best option, because now you don't have the mana to chain all those spells off. So that still could buy me the turn I need. But it's not as clean as it has been in the past. And so I don't know. It's interesting. It changes the way that we kind of sequence those early turns in a cool way. Yeah. So no, the plot mechanic, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. So I expect, while looking at results, there hasn't been a whole lot of results on Magic Online with this card in particular. but we know it's all over the arena ladder.
Oh my goodness.
And obviously that data isn't necessarily being covered by, non-tournament related, websites. But one card that is making a splash all over the place is Duelist of the Mind. And in multiple formats as well. This is Nathan Stoyer's card with their likeness on it. Its power is always equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. So obviously it's played in decks that are taking advantage of this. And, if we're talking about a format villain prior to Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Rafine seems like a great turn 3 follow-up to this card. Especially if you're able to land a nice 1-drop, a little Duelist of the Mind followed by a Rafine sounds just up this card's alley. And, you can just put the +1/+1 counters from Rafine onto this card, and it has Flying and Vigilance, so you're just making it harder to get rid of. It's being played in even the Legends variants of Esper midrange right now, just because it's so good. Even though it's not a legend, its purpose is being served.
Yeah, it advises the Legends. Everything's fine.
Perfect. Yeah. So what you're saying is Nathan Stoyer finally broke Rafine. Like finally
Nathan
figured
Stoyer
out.
might just be breaking standard.
I know.
Right?
There we have it. All right.
Rafine was awful before. I don't know. Nobody played it.
Of course. Yeah.
Never saw it.
Oh, Rafine is.
Battlefield.
Yeah. Rafine.
Glad somebody broke that card.
I know, right? It's about time. Rafine's gonna get a chance to shine, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, Rafine only has about another couple months in standard, right?
True.
Because once we reach September, standard's going to rotate. Capenna will be out. We won't have to deal with that anymore. However, if we remember Doomwake, if any of you know who Doomwake is, they created a black-blue Dimir mid-range deck that was basically all card draw, right? You played cards like Evangel of Synthesis, and you got to play the Scholar, the 3-mana card from Karlov Manor, lets you draw 2, discard like an instant or sorcery or creature with flying. Steam Core Scholar, that's it. And this card fits right in that deck as well, as a good 2-drop, and is probably a better card than Ingenious Prodigy that the deck was playing beforehand, that let you draw an extra card on the upkeep. So instead of having to play that, you could just play a straight up better 2-drop. That also works pretty well with Ledger Shredder, which is currently in standard for another couple months.
Oh my goodness.
So, and the Pioneer version or Explorer version of this deck gets to play Treasure Cruise. So imagine Treasure Cruise with Duelist of the Mind for obvious reasons.
No,
it just presents a really fairly large Flying Vigilance creature that's going to beat you really quick.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit with a mono blue Duels of the Mind Prophetic Memory deck, and there's something about playing mono blue with like almost no interaction. Like I think it has 4 Fading Hopes and that's it. The rest of it is all just card draw and flying vigilant bodies, and that is it. And it is wild watching mono blue pile on as much power as that deck can do in a turn. It's nuts. Yeah, this card is fun. I gotta say, it's legit.
Yeah. So, aside from Duelist on the Mind, some other cards that have been doing decent, Karavik the Punisher has been an absolute powerhouse. I'm sure we'll get to talking about how good the card is in Limited. But I've been seeing this in lots of Legends variants in Standard on the Arena ladder. Let's talk about a card that lets you, cast a removal spell, reanimate your Deep Cavern Bat from the yard. You take 2, you take another card out of your opponent's hand. Hey, I committed a crime, and this is not a once per turn ability. Maybe I have a cut down in my yard that I can also then cast on a creature. This card is crazy, and even crazier with cards like Tiny Bones Joins Up, which will trigger every time a legend enters the battlefield. So you commit another crime, then you get another
Tiny
Karavik
Bones Joins Up
trigger.
is just a crazy card anyway.
By itself.
So good.
So I'm seeing these 2 cards be played in not just mono black variants, but some Golgari Legends variants that are out there right now that also get to take advantage of Glissa Sunslayer, Gix, which is already a powerhouse 3-drop. You get to play the new card Vadmir from Thunder Junction that says when you commit a crime, it gets a counter. It's got 4 more counters on it. It's got Menace and Lifelink. It's just a solid 2-drop that triggers every time you commit the crime. And who would have thought that like the mono black cards actually commit the best crime possible?
It's
with the amount of removal that those cards have.
If only someone could
ever target opponents.
Yeah, wait, do they?
With target opponents
or the things? I don't know. Yeah.
Target opponent, their graveyard, or something that they control.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Here.
Yeah, look at it.
And innocent.
Yeah, look, so many mono black decks. You look at them nowadays, and it's just like they have like 15 or more crimes in them just incidentally, and so having an opportunity to
oops, I committed a crime.
Oh yeah. Honestly, that is one of those things when you're playing with these kinds of payoffs. The number of times that just in paper you have that moment of, oh wait, that's a crime that triggers this, and you didn't even think about it. That's absolutely a thing. Yeah.
Oops, all crime.
Oops, all crime. Yeah. All crime all the time. Let's go. Now, so Karavak is an interesting one, and I definitely have had an opportunity to play with it a little bit, and it is a little dangerous. The only reason that I say it's a little dangerous is because you do lose 2 life every time you do it. And so if you're flashing back multiple kill spells in a turn with this, which is not hard to do, you do end up losing a fair amount of life in the process. So you do have to be careful about that element of it.
Sure.
But that's so perfectly just encapsulates the flavor of black, though. Like the idea of like doing whatever you need, whatever the cost will make it happen. And yeah, it turns out turn and go for the throat into a Snapcaster Mage is a good thing. Like that's powerful.
Yeah. And so looking at this card, I can't believe that it's just rare and just not a mythic, right? Like this card just does so much for 3 mana.
It's wild.
Another card that we wanted to point out, we were talking about earlier, was Simulacrum Synthesizer, right? It's from the big score sheet, but all the big score cards are standard legal. And we talked about in the last podcast about, some decks that were lower in the tier of what was standard playable. And I think I had mentioned the blue-white artifacts deck sort of being like tier 2.5. And this card bumps that thing up at least a whole tier for me. If you slam this down and unanswered, you are going to get multiple constructs or Karnstructs, as we call them, tokens a turn. Between playing cards like Thran Spider on 3 from Brothers War that makes you a Power Stone. That's getting you a creature plus a Power Stone, which then enables you to cast bigger things. So like Might Stone, Weak Stone, Thousand Moon Smithy. All of those are cards that are going to trigger to make you additional Karnstructs. And if you play another synthesizer, because it can't just be legendary. It can't be legendary. It's not possible. We gotta be able to play multiple of these and get out multiple Karnstructs a turn.
It wasn't a monopoly. Somebody was like, "I'll copy your design." So we got multiple synthesizers here.
Clearly, yes, and you can mass produce these. It's wild. It gets silly. Oh my goodness.
And it's interesting too because this card is like hot garbage and limited. I never want to take it because there is no synergy with Outlaws of Thunder Junction cards with this. There's 3 artifacts that have 3 CMC or higher costs, maybe in the whole set, including the bonus sheets.
Yeah, the Assimilation Aegis, I think, is like the only. Yeah, it's like maybe you'll open one of these. It's a mythic, but what's
the other thing? Contagion Engine triggers this if you hit that off the bonus sheet.
Also a mythic.
Yeah,
from the special set.
Right, and so and we'll get into talking to about this in a little bit more with the limited talk, but drafting on Arena right now is like one of the only ways to get that card. So it's got limited availability right now, but it is a very, very strong card, I think, for standard sake.
Yeah. This one is also, the price on Simulacrum Synthesizer is also driving up because I understand people are trying it in Modern as well. I know I've heard the question, like, is Affinity back in Modern, which is kind of a wild thought. Like, I can understand why this would be a boost to it, because Frog Mites and Mere Enforcers would trigger this. So okay, but that's, I don't know. Maybe that's meme potential for My
opinion of that format forever will be if the spell isn't free, it's not good. That's sort of what Modern has become now.
I hate how real that is.
Of the Golgari Yawgmoth decks. So
yeah. And with the very first time many years ago, I heard somebody say, "No, it costs 3. There's no way you can play it in Modern." I remember thinking like, 3 mana is too expensive. Like, and
no.
Yeah, no, it is. And now that's only gotten worse. Yeah. That number's only gotten lower. Now we're at a point where it's like, you have to pay 2 mana for this? 2 mana? What are you doing? Like, why come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
craziness.
It's wild.
Sounds miserable.
You know what's funny? I always thought that would be miserable as well. I haven't jumped into Modern, but I have played Timeless on Arena, and I know if you put in a 3-drop in your Timeless deck, it better frickin' slap. And and I'm surprised at how much I enjoy that play experience. You know, I was thinking like, this is a turn 1 Necro format. Get out of here. There's no way I'm gonna have fun. And I
so many Lurrus decks in that
kind of like it. I kind of like it. It's oddly enjoyable. But anyway, because all the disgusting, super high-powered stuff kind of balance each other out a little. Anyway, yeah, a little. All right.
Yeah. And sort of like the last card I wanted to talk about that seems to have been making a splash is actually a card that's played in one of the control decks right now. And that is called 3 Steps Ahead. And that is one of the spree cards in this set that we were looking at last week.
Yeah, I know that one.
It does infinite things. Yeah, right? At worst, it's cancel. But aside from that, it also becomes cancel plus make a token that's a copy of an artifact or creature you control. Or let you draw 2, ditch a card. So for 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, you can counter a spell, draw 2, discard a card. Which is like insanely powerful, in my opinion.
It's the Sublime Epiphany, but broken up into pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there has been a Jeskai deck on Magic Online that's been doing well in leagues and challenges that literally doesn't play any creatures anymore, just planeswalkers. That also is taking advantage of cards like High Noon, so a little Staxy for my taste, but High Noon is there. And you're just playing a bunch of counter spells and burn spells like Lightning Helix, and you also get to play Final Showdown in this deck, which is that instant speed spree wrath spell.
Yeah.
So I would definitely be paying attention to this card, 3 Steps Ahead, because I think this is a counter spell that we're gonna unfortunately or fortunately have to play with or against for Standard to come. That being said, there is sort of a sleeper card that I see some control decks playing that I wish I would continue to see increase. That is in Stoic Sphinx. That is a Sphinx that only costs 4 mana.
5/3 hexproof unless you've cast another spell.
Yep. No, unless you've cast another spell
this turn.
Yeah, so when you flash it in, it's not hexproof. But if they can't deal with it immediately and the turn passes,
then it's hexproof the next turn.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and for like
until they cast a spell, it will have hexproof.
Exactly. So as far as I'm thinking about old school Simic Flash back when that was a thing. Would have loved this card. That kind of a draw go control kind of setup could really. I mean, it also kind of remind. I mean, obviously being a Sphinx, it reminds me of Dream Trawler a little bit in the way that it protects itself, and it just sticks and is 5 power in the air. Can you deal with it?
I think this card is way better than Dream Trawler. And I was a Dream Trawler fan when you were able to play that in control decks. And
that was one of those control finishers for a minute.
Imagine being able to play in Standard Stoic Sphinx and the Wandering Emperor on turn 4 at an end step, right? So like 2 huge threats. Stoic Sphinx puts on a 4-turn clock for the control deck to win the game, and you're talking about the same deck that gets to play Restless Anchorage. So you don't have to cast a spell. I animate a flyer. I make a map. I create advantage. Or, hey, I could just attack for 5 and leave all of my cards up and say good luck. Like, now the gameplay for the opponent has to be kill this Stoic Sphinx. And you hope I don't have a counter spell to counter your answer. And if I'm also playing High Noon, neither of us can cast more than 1 spell a turn. So you're not getting rid of Stoic Sphinx ever.
So yeah, even if they have the edict or something, they can get around the hexproof. You still just hit it with the counterspell, and now it's not hexproof anymore. But they can't cast.
The only problems are the mirror or like other 3/3 flyers, 3 power flyers.
Sure. Yes,
that's the only problem in limited with this. Otherwise, it's a card that should not have been printed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I definitely hope this takes off because it was my pre-release promo, so I have a stamped one of these. So yeah, that could be worth a lot. That'd be great.
Sometimes I just want these cards to do stupidly well in standard, because otherwise, what frickin' purpose are they other than to make my life miserable?
Yeah. Well, this set has so many of those, though, is the thing. And
there's so many cards with flash. Can we talk about how many cards have flash and ward now? Woo. I mean, I know we could go on and on and on about this particular conversation. But cards just have flash for no reason.
Well, flash and just instants. I mean, like we've reached a point. We're gonna get to a point. I mean, we're joking about expensive cards in older formats. Like, oh, if you have to spend mana, it's unplayable in modern. We're gonna get to a point where, like, if it's sorcery speed, it's unplayable. Like, we're gonna get to that point before too terribly long, because there's so many incredible. I mean, there's even the freaking board wipe in this set is an instant. Like, and that's where the big thing with. Smuggler's Surprise as well is one of those cards where you look at it and it's like, if that's a sorcery, I'm not playing it. At instant, now we're talking, because that could get insane. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've accepted the fact that counterplay has gotten so good that there need to be more flash threats and more instant speed threats, and so now we're getting those, and so yeah, where does it end? Where does this little arms race end?
Yeah, and here's just me trying to play cards like Vaultborn Tyrant.
Right. Yeah, trying to play
in like a ramp deck in standard, because who doesn't like to play big dumb rhinos? Or big dumb dinos, rather.
Rhinos, yeah.
You can play big dumb rhinos too, because they exist in
that
set.
as well. Yeah.
But here's me just trying to play this card. Like, this is insane value and definitely worth being mythic.
Totally.
6/6 trample, ETB, gain life, draw a card. And then, by the way, if I put any other 4 power or greater cards into play after the fact, we just repeat this process. And hey, you wrath my board with destroy creatures, not exile. I get Vaultborn Tyrant back on the battlefield anyway. So it's just resilient to destroy effects.
Yep.
And ramp decks are now ever so more prevalent. You will see some cards rotate out, but in this set alone, you have the Stable Master, which is a 2-mana 2/2, make a green. You even have the 1/1 Rogue that untaps when a crime's committed once a turn. We still have Scrapyard, the 2-mana creature. You know what I'm talking about. Scrapyard from
Scrounger.
All Will Be One.
Yep.
Gorger. And then we have what else? Bramble Familiar. And Bramble Familiar you can cast on 7 and mill cards and put creatures into play from the graveyard. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
we do have a wealth of green little ramper babies.
100%. Yeah.
So, I'm glad that we have that, but we also have an overabundance of wrath spells. So
we do. Yeah.
Sad part is sometimes that gets played against us. Plus side is we have
Olive playing like a 16 wrath deck. Or 32 Wrath deck. I forget what it was.
It was 36 Wraths. It was literally all lands and Wraths. Was the entire deck. No. And it won a number of games on camera. Because Wraths are leaving bodies behind. He had White Suns, Twilight, and Sunfall. And so he was still he would just have a board state afterwards.
Not okay.
It's not okay. I completely agree. And it's funny, if you watch that video, throughout the whole thing, he was like, this is so dumb. I can't believe I'm getting to do this. This shouldn't be a thing. Like, I cannot count how many times I heard him say, this shouldn't be a thing.
And what's extra,
and he's correct.
It's funny.
I should not be able to do this.
I should not be able to do this. Because it was kind of a silly thought experiment as, a content creator. Like, here's this memey dumb idea. And normally, let me go get my teeth kicked in and like goof to the camera while it's happening because I'm trying to do this dumb thing. And he was smoking people on the ladder with it. Like, that's no, stop it.
What's extra
my
funny?
Meme works. God damn it.
Oh no, exactly. It was like
So Hamhawks has a series called Fight Me Friday on Fridays over on their channel.
Yeah, buddy.
And most Fridays I'm working from home, so I'm always just like lurking and watching the viewers battle against Hamhawks. And every single time somebody loads up and says, I want to play standard, and it'll be, I won't name them, but it's always the same couple people that like load up this 36 Wrath deck against Ham, and Ham has gotten to the point where he's like, I'm just gonna concede.
I'm just gonna scoop.
It's not worth the time.
When the third Wrath rolls around to save everyone's time, I'm just gonna scoop. I'll give you the win, but I'm gonna scoop. Yeah. Yep, 100%. Well, because I've played against those decks a number of times, and if you stick around for an hour, you might win one game against them.
Right.
But it, like, when I say an hour, that's not as hyperbolic as it sounds.
It's a Pyrrhic victory.
It's pretty, the only hope is that you're playing some kind of combo deck that doesn't require your graveyard. Right. You know, like, that's the, like, if you can one-shot them out of somewhere, if you have the right hand, then you might be okay. But if you rely on creatures for value, it's not going to happen. Like, it just... Yeah, it's wild. Well, yeah. So anyway, the Wrath deck. It's a whole thing. I don't know why we need a good playable Wrath in every single set now. I don't know that that's necessary, because that was not always the case. Yeah. But here we are. But yeah, so Vaultborn Tyrant, cool card. But it's funny, in a short that actually I released today, I specifically, I called, or was it yesterday? Regardless. I called Vaultborn Tyrant unplayable in Standard. You know, and that was maybe a little harsh, but to be honest, it's a 7-drop in Standard. That is a creature that gives you 0 value if it gets, well, you get a card off it when it enters. I mean, it's kind of, it's a super honey mammoth, you know, and like, that's fine. Sometimes you just need a honey mammoth, but you know, the idea that I have with this is, if your deck can support a 7-drop, why aren't you just playing a Traxa? You know,
right.
Is the unfortunate reality.
You will definitely get more than one card.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, I love Vaultborn Tyrant. I think this card is super duper fun, and I adore it. And I'm going to be jamming in a whole bunch of stuff that it has no business being in. But I fully expect there to be janky brews that can take advantage of it and have a lot of fun and have very explosive turns. I have complete faith that that's going to happen with this card. Absolutely. Yeah. But I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, delighted. To be fair, I want to set the record straight. I would be delighted if in a couple of weeks we are looking at tournament results and there is a deck featuring Vaultborn Tyrant in that kind of a context. I will be absolutely gobsmacked, but overjoyed. Like, I don't expect that to ever happen.
We need Standard to take a couple weeks to be redefined, and that'll happen after next week, right? There's a Pro Tour next week in Seattle. So we'll get to see what the pros are doing in Standard, and honestly, I don't expect them to go much beyond like Esper, the World Souls Rage lands deck that's out there. You know, just straight up playing like Dimir mid-range, because they are the most powerful. I do expect to see Slickshot show-off decks.
Yes.
For sure. And what will then develop after that is what Standard traditionally does. Take 3 pillars of the format. Okay, if the Slickshot decks are too powerful, what decks have to combat that? And that means you will likely have to have a control deck that combats the deck that's trying to beat the Slickshot deck. There's our 3 pillars of the format. And then the ramp decks are just going to have to slide in there, because none of those decks outside of the control deck might be able to deal with it. And the last time that happened, we had Boros Convoke enter the format at the end of that whole round.
Yep.
And Boros Convoke is still putting up results in the Magic Online leagues. And challenges and stuff like that, even though we have a card called Pest Control from Outlaws of Thunder Junction that literally destroys that deck if you can cast it. So we'll see how Standard develops post Pro Tour next weekend to revisit sort of this conversation to see where we're at with those pillars.
Definitely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Pest Control gets any adoption, because it wouldn't touch. I mean, the show-off deck, the Slickshot show-off is itself the catalyst behind the whole thing. This doesn't get hit by that. It would hit your Kumano Faces Kakazans and your Monastery Swiftspears, though. So, yeah, interesting.
There's the fun art of that.
Oh, that is lovely.
That's pretty.
Yeah, for the audio listeners, Headology just produced the showcase version of Pest Control.
Showcase version of the Pest Control, big score.
Very nice, very nice. But yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah. Oh, speaking. Okay, so Pest Control. That's definitely a mythic that I'm not happy to open. In a draft. No. I'm just gonna put that out there. So
that one is going to be completely thrown aside. That one wheels all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you want to get pest control on Arena, just join a draft. You'll find one.
No, not necessarily. It has to be opened.
Well, yeah, of course. But yeah, if you draft
a little bit. If it's in your draft, you'll likely see it.
If it's in your pool, you'll have a chance at it. Yep, exactly. Yeah. All right. But yeah, I mean, was there anything else that we want to talk about in Standard before we kind of take this segue that is getting less smooth the more I talk about it, and go into some limited discussion? Or was there anything else we want to talk about Standard-wise? Because
so there's the blue and red flyer. Are there any other things that are making a big splash as far as like OTJ rares and mythics?
You know, yeah, right now they're
I think splash, but like, is anything else being played?
Well, I have complete faith right now. So you're saying that we've got there's
being played is
we do have the upcoming
Paul. Are any of these cards that are making my life miserable being like pushed for a purpose?
I have seen Bonnie Paul on the ladder in Standard, but I would be surprised if it's I'd be surprised if it's competitive.
Like, look here, we're going to make your limited lives miserable for no reason because these are never going to see Standard play, and most of them aren't going to see Commander because they're just not strong enough, but they are strong enough to make you sad. Cool.
I would say probably in the last couple days, I've seen more people playing like Gisa the Hellraiser in their decks. I would like to see more than that, honestly, because I think Gisa is like a crazy good card.
It's a crazy card.
This card is silly. Yeah.
You know, talk about more cards that have wards slapped on it.
For a 4/4.
Yeah.
I mean, but whenever you commit a crime, which it happens all the time, it just rocks out 4 power, 4 toughness onto the board across 2 bodies. Like, and it only triggers once per turn.
Powers.
And
because it pumps them.
Oh, it does. You're right. Yeah. So, you know, we were talking earlier. We mentioned Tiny Bones joins up being silly. If you have a Tiny Bones joins up live, she drops and just immediately vomits 6 power onto the board.
Or in limited, just play a desert.
Right.
Also perfectly acceptable. Yep.
Cool.
It's not hard to get there.
Power, because I played a land.
Yeah. So he's just been showing up. Also, Bristly Bill in a couple decks.
I hate that card.
People are just trying out the card.
I mean, as long as they're making some splash in Standard, I can see some sort of like reason for them.
People are
definitely not
tinkering.
Doing anything but making me unhappy.
No, people are tinkering, and I have complete faith that the pros have tech in mind going into the Pro Tour, and I fully anticipate that this is what we see going into the Pro Tour all the time. We see people kind of debating, is this card good? Is this card not good? And what'll inevitably happen is the pros are going to show up and there's going to be a deck that one of the teams is bringing, likely Team Handshake. Keep an eye on those guys. But, you know, something that has some tech in that people underestimated. And it'll put up some numbers. Like, we see that all the time. To this day, I'm still regretting not buying, like, 50 Breach the Multiverse when they were 50 cents until, you know, Team Channel Fireball showed up with a Rakdos Breach deck to the Pro Tour that time. It's like, well, here we are. Between that and Natali, there was a minute where they were really cheap.
Sometimes you gotta go with your gut.
Yep, and I did not. I've learned to trust it. But in any event, we don't know what those cards are yet. You know, but we're going to keep an eye out.
But when you do, it'll feel really good. Just keep track of exactly how often you hit so that you know when to stop trusting your gut.
Yes. There's a time and a place. Exactly. Yeah. But no, so who knows what those cards will be this time around. Maybe the synthesizer is as good as we think, and maybe that'll step up and create a whole new competitive archetype that we haven't had. You know,
like to which the meta has to adjust.
Yeah, exactly. And then people have to shift to it. Or maybe, you know, like I've seen like the ornery Tumblewag on the ladder. And it like played surprisingly well in like a Golgari mid-range list, and it was one of those where it's like, really? I was shocked to see it hit the field, and then it pummeled me. It's like, oh,
that's going in my Zagana ADH deck. I'm so excited about that.
As it should. It's actually
my +1/+1 for everyone.
I love it. Yeah, ornery Tumblewag, not bad.
It's not okay in limited. Needless to say.
I mean,
I was just doing a quick while we're sitting here talking. About these cards, just like looking up like some prices of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and for y'all listening, as of this recording, there goes loot. Take a look at the price of a simulacrum synthesizer. Like, either somebody just bought a bunch of them out on TCG Player,
they're sold out,
or the card is literally cheapest price, like $74 to buy.
Whoa!
Oh my god!
Which is crazy. So, hey, it could just mean that people are playing this card a lot, and it's being spec that it's going to make waves at the Pro Tour, and so this is the Pro Tour buyout of these cards.
It could be.
Or it means people aren't opening a lot of Thunder Junction in paper.
Yeah, that's also quite possible right now.
Yeah. Well, yes. I think it might be a combination. Yeah. I think it's probably meeting somewhere in the middle, because this is also it's a mythic on the bonus sheet. And so as a result, like there will be fewer of these opened than a lot of other a lot of other cards in the set. So if there's a high demand and a relatively low supply, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hopefully with more packs getting opened, that price will drop a little at least.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Big dollars. The one you have up on the screen right now, the showcase vault version's like $100.
It's gorgeous though. Like that vault showcase is
I know.
Oof, man. That's pretty. Yeah. It's pretty, and I want to call out, it still looks like a Magic card. That's something that I know is one of those things you hear people say about showcase treatments, or at least people used to say this. It's become kind of silly to say this out loud, so I think a lot of people just kind of keep it to themselves. But it's like, I don't like it because it doesn't look like a Magic card. Because nowadays, what does that mean? We have Magic cards that look like black, like posters. I mean, whatever. It's like, it's all fair game. But I love the basic elements of the Magic card. The title kind of bar, the text box, the type line, those are all very well established, and they look like what we associate with a Magic card, but there's all this other fancy stuff happening around them. And it's like, I gotta say, they nailed it. They look great. Yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, yes, showcase good. Like shiny. All right.
I like shiny cards. Shiny cards are
nice.
Great. What do you
Shiny's
mean?
Nice. I like
Have
shinies.
you seen my Planeswalker Commander deck?
I mean, I have seen it run me over a few times. Yeah, that's best part about watching that deck win is you get to watch it win for a long time. It's awesome.
It's true.
It is actually really fun to see kind of some of the nonsense you can get up to with that, though. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Iker Moon Gauntlet's a heck of a card in the right shell. Let me tell you what.
Oh yeah.
All right. In any event, but yeah, so we have play boosters. They're here, and like when in last week's show, we talked a little bit about the sealed kind of pre-release experience. But now that we've been drafting on Arena, I'm very curious. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to defer to our limited expert. So yeah, Headology, what are your where do you want to start with this?
Let's start with MKM actually.
Oh, okay.
So MKM was the first play booster set.
Yes.
And it didn't sell well. Now that could be for any number of reasons, including the higher price, because again, it's more expensive than both draft and set boosters ever were. Mm-hmm. That could also be because there wasn't necessarily as much value in the rares and mythics for standard and other formats.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things behind that. That can also be because people didn't like play boosters in stores, in drafts and sealed.
Possible. Very possible.
Part of that is because play boosters lend limited an experience that make for a limited experience that isn't what many people appreciate about limited, which we predicted when we asked what are play boosters before they came out.
Yep. Yeah, and we had a whole episode on that, which I'll make sure to put a link to that in the description if you want to go back and listen to kind of our predictions as to what was how that was gonna play out. Because I think Headology, you were pretty spot on with a lot of those thoughts, I believe. Yeah.
So the main thing I appreciate about limited is the carefully navigated incremental advantage games. Those don't happen when your opponent is playing bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb that just reads I win the game, because there's no meaningful way to interact with it unless you are so far ahead that you were already just basically winning the game. So MKM had a problem with that. That was a severe problem. There were things that like Izoni and others where they would be 3 bodies, they'd all have reach, and you just couldn't get through it for 6 mana, and then it would start making more of them whenever it attacked. So there were just so many, you know, and the Sphinx, Ezrim, which could be given hexproof and lifelink and vigilance, and you for clues, which were ubiquitous. So seeing these cards hit the board was just an immediate feel bad. And the problem with play boosters was I literally had 2 of these in a deck once, and someone else had 3.
Oh,
Ezrams.
Gross.
3.
That's absurd.
There's no
that
way
doesn't
in
sound
hell
like good
that you're winning
gameplay
that
on
game.
either side.
No, that sounds awful. Yeah,
that's
I was like, even if
miserable.
I win that game, I feel bad about it. Like that's
yes, that's the thing, and we'll talk about that, because actually last night that was one of the things that was happening whenever I trophy these days, especially if I have to use a broken rare to do it or mythic. It doesn't feel good. Yeah. You just know that your opponent's on the other side being like, I played a fair game of Magic. I navigated it well. I have my commons and uncommons here. I might have a rare, but it doesn't do what yours does.
Right.
And you just feel kind of miserable. So
because you don't have to earn your wins. You
don't know.
Yeah, you
That's
open
the
them.
thing. So with play boosters and MKM, we learned that it increased the variance. Because not only did it punish stumbling on lands even worse, or flooding even worse, but you could play a perfect game and navigate the win. And so there was one game where I literally killed everything off on their board. I had 3 separate lethal attackers, and they played an Ezrim, and I lost.
That's
because it gains 5 life.
Right. Yeah, it negates one of the attackers.
I had 2 murders in hand.
No way.
I couldn't cast both of them in the same turn.
That's
so.
Ouch.
If I could cast both in the same turn, then I could respond to the hexproof given first by doing it again. They could still give it hexproof after that, but at least they couldn't then also give lifelink, because it comes in with only 2 clues.
But how insane is that? Because
it hurts. It's unbelievable.
They had 2 mana open and they played Ezrim. That's all it took for them to perfectly stabilize an otherwise hopeless scenario. That's nuts. Yeah.
So I was so confident, and then they played 1 card. Like I said, there are games where you play perfectly and you still lose, obviously, but not in the same fashion.
Right.
And playing well and not making mistakes is definitely something to be proud of. But doing that and just when you keep getting beaten down by bombs is really demoralizing. When your win rate, where you used to be going infinite, is tanking because of this additional variance of someone can just literally put a card on the board and you lose. And that's happening more and more frequently because they're printing more and more cards like that. Oof. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Crimson Vow, we talked about this last time with What Are Play Boosters. Crimson Vow was the first time we really saw a large increase in I Win the Game bombs. Like, there were a couple in the past. Like, Dream Trawler was an I Win the Game bomb.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Kira Best of Sea God, I Win the Game bomb.
Yeah.
There's like 2 in a set. Right. And then Crimson Vow had Breakfast Demon here.
Yeah. Yeah, you had Dreadfeast Demon, you had Toxrill. It had
Hullbreaker Horror. It had Averbook Caretaker. It just had so many, but there were still only like 6 or 7, I think.
Wow, only 6 or 7 I Win the Game rares.
It was brutal, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Then we got to Mom. So the bonus sheets were introduced in Strixhaven with the Mystical Archives. And the archives, those were a success, but those also, not all of those were like I win the game bombs by any stretch. It was like a stone rain.
Right.
Well, like many of them were not. They were lots of uncommons that weren't like, dude, Doomblade, that's a strong card, but like if you get paired against black, it's fine.
Yeah, and some of them were like full on unplayable. Like Channel was on that. Like who was that for? You know, like, but
there weren't, like, even Natural Order like is not a bomb in a set that fetches up a Bookworm. Bookworm is a really good card, but it's beatable.
Yeah, I mean, is it
so like in Limited, even Tutors, Demonic Tutor was printed in that.
Yep.
You don't usually have the kinds of bombs where fetching up via Demonic Tutor is going to win you the game instantly.
No, I feel like Approach of the Second Sun was probably the bombiest for that, or Time Warp were probably the two that had the biggest
Approach
impact,
and Time Warp were pretty crazy, but even then, Time Warp sometimes was like a time, literally I draw a card.
Yeah, 5 minute draw a card.
Like another turn. That like it's not. I didn't have any creatures on the board, so great.
Right.
Because that's how Limited works to some degree. Is sometimes you have enough creatures, sometimes you don't for a profitable attack, and sometimes it's just I draw a card. So it can be great. And Approach, if you're behind enough on Limited, you're done. Like there's no. So it wasn't quite like that, and that's 7 turns, like for Approach mostly, because there's fewer draw effects that are very powerful. So all of that was pretty well balanced, in my opinion, as a bonus sheet. So I didn't really notice them as a crazy extra rare. I started to notice them, like I started hating them in March of the Machines in Mom. And because that was when you had Itali and Breach, but then you could also have like Azuri and like all the other things, and Sheldred and Vorinclex, and it was just not tenable. Like it was multiple crazy rares per pack, and so you were just seeing them all the time.
Yeah, you mean to tell me you weren't always ready for a Sheldred Whispering Run and
Whispering
Ragavan?
Yeah, no, I was in the same limited environment. To like death. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. Yeah, the Praetors and that whole Multiverse of Legends sheet, there were some
there were some crazy things in that Multiverse of Legends sheet, and they were all legendary and they were all pretty strong, but there were just a lot of game-winning bombs in the actual set itself and in that bonus sheet. So when we look at these bonus sheets and the fact that you're getting extra rares per pack, not everybody is. So you can have an unlucky draft where you got really great synergies amongst your commons and uncommons. You have a really strong deck. The problem is this isn't Cube. It's not something where everything is carefully curated and designed to be of a similar power level. So, and by a similar power level, I mean that even the cheaper cards or the ones that are of lesser rarity are all still in power level closer to the top cards, right, than in Limited, where you can have an 0-4 for 1 versus you can have a 6-5 trample flash for 4. Like that power level discrepancy is not okay. It does not lead to interesting games. It leads to, does somebody play this card?
Correct. It's crazy.
So it's just the discrepancy that I'm talking about, like the best and worst cards, right? Are that discrepancy is enormous, like for this. And when then you continue, like, so you can open, a really good commons and uncommons, very synergistic, and then somebody plays Bonnie Paul.
Yep.
Which is akin to the Izoni, only it's even bigger. It doesn't make 3 bodies, it makes 2, but it's 12 power for 6 mana.
Right.
With
plus
reach
draw cards
on
later.
One of the bodies.
Well,
and so you're still not able to fly over.
And saying 12 power is assuming that you're casting this right on 6. If it's later in the game and you top deck it and you have 8 or 9 mana,
12
it's even
power
more.
Is what you can normally expect. If you power it out slightly sooner, it'll be a little bit smaller, but it's 2 bodies on 5.
It's still great.
For like 10 power at the very. I'm sorry, 11 power. Sorry, like what?
Well, and Bo, the Ox grows as you hit your land drops.
The Ox scales to your land.
That's nuts.
Bonnie Powell's Clear Cutter is a 3 and Simic, so 3 a green and 2 blue for 6/5 reach. When it enters a battlefield, you create Bow, a legendary blue Ox creature token with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever you attack, you get to draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand or your graveyard onto the battlefield. So if you've surveilled lands away, you can get them back from your graveyard. This includes lands that you've sacrificed for value or things like that, or just surveilled away or anything, etc. You know, in an EDH game, it would be if somebody ran land destruction, in which case you just want to kill them anyway. The Bonnie's coming at. Not only that, but whenever you attack, draw a card. Right? Whenever you attack, not Bonnie, not the Ox.
Any creature,
any attack. Yep. So as long as you have a creature on the battlefield before this, you can just send it and suicide it in to replace it for a card. And then you get a land from your graveyard back into play, and the Ox gets bigger.
Yeah.
So, or from your hand if you happen to still have more. So when you have multiple of these going around and you built a really nice common and uncommon deck, there's no way you're beating this card.
Right. Yeah, because
you have to have 2 pieces of removal to deal with this card.
2 pieces of removal that can deal with large bodies. Yeah,
2 basically unconditional pieces of removal. Because most of the stuff in this set, like, it's only the best damage spells that usually deal 5 for any reasonable amount of mana, because you're going to need to kill 2 things. You're not going to be paying. There's one card that deals in red that deals 6 damage, but it's for 5 mana at instant speed.
Yeah.
So you're not going to kill the Ox if the Ox is a 7/7. You can maybe kill the Bonnie, but the Ox is still going to kill you.
Right.
So, like, you can't navigate a game around many of the bombs in this set. And these days, it is likely that you might be facing multiples of them or more than one bomb because of play boosters. So this set, even more than MKM, is a problem because it has not 1, not 2, but 3 bonus sheets. Which means, and you can be getting 4 rares and mythics and having fun from there. So when you're like me and you open a land and an unplayable rare, cool. And somebody else next to you is like, I opened a Bonnie Paul and then I was past a 6/5 Trampler Flash, and then I got Bristly Bill. So it's just it's exacerbated on Arena because it's a league format. And that means that as you rank up in terms of like your record, so as you win games in a league format draft, you'll be more and more likely to face the people who were given all of these rares and mythics. Right? Either they opened them, because 3 is a lot, or they were past some. So you more and more you feel that no skill that you have is going to get you through these games. And you can have the unlucky parts of like Mana Screw or Mana Flood, sure, but that's always been the case. But here, more and more, it's like, okay, am I just going to hit the people with like 8 or 9 rares? So,
it's funny you say that, because I remember you talking about March of the Machine draft, and I remember you saying specifically, like, once I get to 5 wins, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt the next person I face has Sunfall.
Has Sunfall like, or a Tally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
or Breach. Like,
or
but
Breach,
like
sure.
it was,
but like you knew it, one of those
so
was
many
coming.
that they could have, and I was just like, I know I'm gonna get hit by a Sunfall deck.
Yeah.
Like,
and I would
for
even
me
argue,
it was just always.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Based on that
Same.
understanding of March of the Machine draft, where there were some just insane rare mythics that you could get, I would say that that's like doubled in Thunder Junction.
Absolutely.
So you get to 5
100%.
wins, and like all of a sudden, I'm least worried about cards like Sunfall and Atali, and more worried about, getting smacked with a huge Hydra that has Vigilance, Trample, Haste, right, for X and a green.
Sure.
Or getting destroyed for some reason by Crackle of Power. Actually just destroyed, right? Or getting what is the other card? Villainous Wealth, and you
Villainous
casting
Wealth,
all of my bombs that are also in my deck.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, not to mention Oko Thief of Crowns is also.
So yeah,
on
so
this
we
bonus
saw
sheet.
the bonus sheets come out, and we saw a pair of cards, and Ham will bring them up.
Yes, yeah.
We saw a pair of cards that are going to be in the bonus sheet.
Yes, no, I don't have that image handy, but I can absolutely pull. Yeah, show them one after the other here. Because
one of them was this.
We have Oko Thief of Crowns.
3-drop Oko. Said, excuse me. What now?
But, wait a minute.
Oh, and the other was Mana Drain.
Right. Yeah, Mana Drain also in the mix.
So, and we said, okay, look, it'd be a shame if you printed some powerful cards in limited. That would really suck. Because, you know, I've always wanted powerful cards in limited. That really just end the game right away. We've also said it would be a shame if you printed cards that are so powerful that they're banned in other formats where people actually get to build their decks from crazy cards. And those crazy cards weren't able to handle these cards.
Yes. Yeah, Mana Drain is literally banned in Legacy, which you don't get banned in Legacy for being a fair and balanced card. That's for sure.
And not only that, but like we have lessons of the past of like, okay, Oko Thief of Crowns was in limited for a time. Was it fun then? Did we have a lesson that we learned from that? I'm pretty sure we did.
And it was legal and standard for like a shockingly long time, like 2 or 3 months. And like the whole standard discourse was basically pretty much everybody.
Get this card out of my game.
It was all you saw was, man, this is miserable. I really am not playing standard. And man, could all of you stop playing Oko because I'm sick of mirror matches. That's all. Like that's all it was.
So why they printed this again is just unbelievable, and in a limited set, it's just untenable. It's just unfair. It's an awful gaming experience to see this across the board. And for that same reason, to see it on your side, you get excited because you're going to have an easier win, but like, why?
Yeah, I've had Oko Thief of Crowns.
We know that's not gaming.
I've had this Oko in sealed pools, and like there are wins where it's like I stole that one. I had no business winning that game. But Oko showed up, and I was able to stabilize,
and that feeling isn't good. It's not like,
it sucks. I hate it.
I made great choices and great decisions of like tapping 3 mana and playing this card. That was genius of me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and
like I feel great about myself and my life and my worth as a person.
Well, and the thing about Oko, this card is so good. Every single element of it is fantastic to the point where it's relatively easy to choose the wrong mode, depending on what's going on. Like, maybe you elk something where you really shouldn't have bothered, but you need the life from the food token. But the reality is, even if you make the wrong decision, the thing you're doing is still so good. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can still fumble your way with this card and it'll be okay.
It's hard to F up.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to mess this up.
So they put these in the bonus sheets, and we were already like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. When the other thing, too, I was really excited for new 4-mana Oko, because it's like, finally, we are going to enjoy an experience where this character has kind of a fringe, weird build around perfectly fair card. And we're going to get to see fair Oko. By the way, unfair Oko's in the set too. Like, dang it, but why?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So Mark Rosewater, we can put up this quote.
That one we can, yes.
Mark Rosewater on Twitter posted, "Share with me your MTG Thunder pre-release fun moments." And I screen capped it.
Fun prompt, right? Hey, we got pre-release moments.
One of my favorite responses, which was from Fake Jake Brown, who's a wonderful person, and says, "Instead of playing 2 brand new OTJ cards, I played the 2 cards I knew were sealed bombs. It was a bummer. Bonus sheets are great for value, but the limited experience needs fine-tuning. Winning was fun, but I miss playing with new cards. Pictured are Villainous Wealth, which is a sick card from Cons, which allows you to steal cards, X worth of cards from the top of your opponent's library, and you can play them for free as long as their mana cost is less than X.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Forces is also pictured, which is a one-sided board wipe that draws you cards for the number of opponents' creatures that you wiped off the board for 8 mana, which is completely doable in this format because there are accelerators. I mean, you might get killed faster than that. There are decks that go faster than that, but it's, perfectly reasonable in black, which has a lot of removal to slow down your opponent's creatures. Now, those two are pictured as the ones that are absolutely known sealed bombs, taken over 2 others, Akul and Rakdos the Muscly, the single Muscly.
Yeah,
Rakdos
which I gotta say, I have played with Rakdos the Muscle, and he is a very strong limited card.
Rakdos the Muscle is an extremely strong card.
But I'm inclined to agree.
Extremely strong.
Without knowing the rest of the deck.
Sultai looks better because of Villainous Wealth and Overwhelming Forces than Rakdos
takes a backseat.
Colors.
Absolutely.
Then you can't run Akul, and you can't really run Rakdos. Especially if you don't have the fixing.
Right.
So playing with new cards, making 4 bonus sheets means that people don't want to play with the new cards necessarily unless they get some of the stupidest bombs.
And it's a shame.
That's a problem.
That's the whole point of pre-release. Is to play with the new cards.
Showcase the new set.
Yeah.
When nobody's excited about the new set, then you've probably done something wrong. When everybody's playing old cards. So that's one of the first of the issues that we encounter with these play boosters is you're getting these bonus sheets, and in this case, you're getting 3 bonus sheets. So you can see, the big score and the vault one, whatever that is.
Oh, the big score is the vault. The newspaper one is breaking news. So we have big score, breaking news. And then there are special guests here too for some reason. Yeah.
And then special guests. Yeah, special guest is also there, which is the star one. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So but you're getting like things of the pre-release. So sequences of the pre-release that Stoneforge
Mystics here as a special guest, just because. Honestly, but as a timeless Hammer Time enjoyer, I'm not mad. But I'm mad at having to craft them. But whatever, I'll live. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, we're getting experiences at these pre-releases that include crazy plays. Such as this one from Austin C, who's at Brohirim, which I love his name.
That's an amazing name. Yeah.
Countered my opponent's 4 mana spell with a mana drain. Used some of the mana to cast Ancient Cornucopia, and then the rest of my mana to cast Villainous Wealth for 7. It was my second spell, so I investigated off of Malcolm and used the clue for Breach's ability to copy Villainous Wealth.
Yeah.
There is no sequence like this that should ever happen in limited Magic.
No. Yeah. This is not fair.
This is not okay. Like, I love that it was like a 5-card combo. That's adorable.
Sure.
But these cards should not be in limited at this point together.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go back to like the previous tweet in comparison to this, right? So we have one person talking about playing non-standard legal or not new cards because they're just so powerful, to here's my 5-card combo also with non-new cards that are enabling me to win the game. You know, I myself, so I played 5 pre-release events, not counting my 1, 2, and a giant. I played 5 pre-release events on pre-release week. I opened 1 play booster, and I opened 2 collector booster boxes. And just for visualization, so for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, this larger stack is everything that is standard legal. The smaller stack is everything that is not standard legal.
Holy
that God. I opened up out of these booster packs.
It's so this roughly just over a third or nearly a half.
Yeah, not quite a half.
Are not
close.
Legal.
Yeah.
In standard.
Wow.
And listen, I understand the whole thing about accessibility. And I understand wanting to bring to someone who is primarily playing standard formats, or if you're new to Magic, a more accessible way to open up the older cards. So you can play them in any format you're choosing. But, like, this is a little ridiculous now.
Yeah.
Not just for the limited perspective, but I can't even open up cards I need to play the standard format out of a standard set anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
and
silly.
you're talking an increased price now, and we talked about this last time we discussed this topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
An increased price for the play boosters. Thankfully, my shop didn't increase like prices for pre-release. I saw some shops that were charging like $50 for people to play pre-release for one pack per win, which is like utterly ridiculous. Nobody wants to play the pre-release then if you're doing that.
Right.
But I can't now. I used to be able in the past play every pre-release event and buy like 2 booster boxes, draft booster boxes, or even when they switched the set booster boxes and we were buying those. Now I'm just stuck with all of like, and most of these cards are breaking news cards.
Yeah.
I can't play them in a standard deck. So either what this is going to do is it's going to drive up the price, and we just talked about cards like the Simulacrum Synthesizer.
Yep.
If that card's $70 some is a mythic, this is the answer why. It's because the non-standard bonus sheets are going to cause the standard cards harder to find.
Mm-hmm.
And partially for that reason, LGSs don't want to crack packs for singles.
Of course not.
They'd rather you purchase the single products.
Yeah.
Purchase the draft product, or, you know, in this case, your play booster boxes or whatever.
Or your collector booster boxes, yeah.
Right.
And I love collector boosters. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm like on that target market. I want foils for my decks.
Yeah, we have a lot of video evidence that you enjoy those, by the way.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, fun fact, C. Favreto Jr. on TikTok. Just saying. Anyway.
Yeah. But I can't even open up standard legal foil cards anymore because they're all non-standard.
That's the idea that you could run a draft with your buddies and not have kind of the bones of a standard deck at the end of it. It's like, really? Like, it's wild. I don't know.
This was the first pre-release experience, and you know the folks at my LGS, the comic book store in Glassboro, are always great in giving like announcements before pre-releases begin. And what they always say at the beginning is, "Here's your pre-release kit. By the way, if you enjoy this new standard set, hey, Wizards is trying to revitalize standard. We want you to come to in-store play. We play standard on Sundays at 3 p.m. Here, we even have these big resplendent angels that Wizards sent us. As, you know, one way to win one of these is show up to a standard tournament and you can take this big card home." And what they always say is, take your pre-release and take your new cards and add them to your existing cards and show up for standard. Well, when I open my pre-release kit and I'm winning with non-standard cards, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
Right.
It defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
You know, and when just on the pre-release sort of talk for a moment, and we talked about this last week, there was not one pre-release pool with 6 boosters plus my promo that I had less than 12 rares and mythics in.
Yeah.
And, you know,
in Luis Scott Vargas's article talking about around the MKM time, after drafting a bunch of MKM, he concludes, Luis Scott Vargas, for people who don't know, is a professional Magic player, or was, and one of the biggest names in the game. And loves limited and hates play boosters. Says it's a worse experience than before, of course. And then also notes that the likelihood of, at that point, the likelihood of opening 10, 8 to 10 rares was very high. And he said, you weren't usually opening the 12 rares, but now you are.
Yeah.
Now you absolutely are.
And part of the issue in these particular play boosters was because they added the what would have been the Thunder Junction Aftermath set that was scrapped. Right? So they added an additional 30 mythic rares, standard legal, into the booster packs. So therefore increasing number of bombs, right?
Absolutely.
Or at least the cards that are bombs. Some of them just aren't playable in limited.
Right.
But
Surgical extraction.
you can still open them up. Right. Yeah. So, taking that into perspective, absolutely right. Like, it's not an anomaly to open up double rares and mythics than you would have normally with draft boosters. Plus, you get to play your promo, which is great. I like that. But, if we're winning the game with mostly non-standard legal cards, I don't get the point of this.
Yeah.
And at this point,
if we're winning the limited game with only mostly rares, why are you printing commons and uncommons?
Yeah, why are they even here anymore?
And they're minimizing them too. Like, I've had opened packs with more rares and mythics than uncommons.
Yeah.
And that's just unacceptable. And LSV was talking about how that there are no signals anymore because you can just keep getting, like, there's no signals because the person who took and passed to your right, who's passing from to you, who took something, they might have taken another bonkers mythic. You won't know. Some of the best uncommons and most broken uncommons in the set can come to you pick 6 or 7.
Yep.
Which is ridiculous. And that they're not signals even at that point.
Right.
It's not drafting at that point. You used to be very careful about what wheeled, right? And it would be a reward for being in the right colors to know that you could pick something and then have another card wheel that was in your pair of colors because nobody else was in those pair of colors.
Yep.
And because you'd read the draft signals really well. Here it's just like, maybe take fixing just so you can run all the bombs. Don't worry about synergy. So there are synergies still, but like, again, it's not going to do you as well as just landing that bomb.
Right.
And so if we look at Lord Tupperware, Ethan Sachs, second pre-release, you'll be able to see there were some crazy other things that weren't run, but here are 6 rares and mythics that were part of that sealed pool, and 3 of them are nigh unbeatable, and 1 of them gets the other nigh unbeatables back. So it's not okay, and nobody that I know of who is a limited streamer really appreciates play boosters because or at least who doesn't regularly get bombs appreciates it, because what are you supposed to do against this particular thing? At 3 mana, you're not getting through. Like, 3 mana for a 3/3 is already rough, and then you have Kervek and a Death Toucher. Like, what are you doing here, Vraska?
Right.
And then you have a Steed that can start, when it's mounted, starts drawing you cards that also drain your opponent for that number of for their converted mana cost. And then you have another Steed that starts making 3/3 angels, and then you have a giant dino or a Gitrog monster once they get to the later game.
Yeah.
What do you want? How are you winning against that deck? Of course you 3-0'd with that deck. Unless you got completely mana screwed or flooded, you're not losing.
Right.
With
only
that, and it didn't even take many decisions to go through.
Yeah, only the most unlucky draws in history are allowing you to lose.
Exactly.
That's nuts.
And people are opening packs with 4 mythics in them, including, again, a fake Jake Brown. This is just 4 casual 4 mythics, right? It's a Jace, a Vraska, a Torpor Orb, and a Trap. And they are... This is absurd. A couple are unplayable. Torpor Orb and the Trap are not playable really and limited. But the Vraska and the Jace is great. Vraska's meh. It's fine. It's good. It's a really good card. But compared to Jace is epic, and Vraska's 2 colors. So
I love the idea that a 3/3 Death Touch with upside for 3 is meh. It's fine.
Yeah. Comparatively, you have to evaluate the strength of rares a lot more than you did in the past, because you're getting so many right next to each other. So you have to make sure that you know which one's way more powerful. It used to be, okay, you get a rare in a pack, unless it has tons of text and is red, you take it.
Well, yeah, and to your
those old
point,
ones with like World Fire and all the other stuff.
Well,
like,
yeah,
with a million lines of text, and they were just bad. But like, it was a joke, running a joke. But yeah. Basically, most rares were good and mythics were good. Not all, of course, but most. And you didn't have to evaluate because there weren't 3 or 4 in the pack. So now you have to figure, okay, is this mythic or this rare better than this one? Which didn't used to be a problem that we really had. Then we have Caleb D, who's got this pack. Which is Bonnie Paul, Railway Brawler, and Gisa the Hellraiser. Now, Gisa the Hellraiser is a 4/4 for 5, right? That again, you commit a crime and you're going to get 2 3/3 zombies as long as she's on the battlefield. They're 2/2s if she's not on the battlefield, but if she's on the battlefield and she's hard to kill because she's ward 2 and pay 2 life, as long as you can commit a crime or a couple crimes, the game's over.
Yeah.
So, Railway Brawler is a 5/5 that you can plot. So you plot it for 4. So on turn 3, because I had an accelerator of the little plant rogue that taps to provide a mana, on turn 3 I put that away on layaway on plot.
Yep.
And then on turn 3 I put the 5/4 that gains 3 life when it comes into play. It's a trample on plot.
Okay. Yes.
Turn 4 I played the brawler into the free plotted card. So I made a 5/5 trample, which is with the railway brawler with reach. Yeah. And then I made a 10/8 trampler with the 5/4 that was plotted.
Plus games.
And then the next turn I gave that one double strike. Whoa. So I attacked for 25 trample damage on turn 5.
That's an easy clap.
And that's not what limited is supposed to do.
Right.
My goodness. Yeah, because
then you have Bonnie Paul in this pack, which again we discussed. This is not an okay card.
Mm-hmm. No, Bonnie Paul's nuts. Yeah.
You have 3 I win the game bombs in just this pack alone.
Yeah, and so the question of pack 1, pick 1, what do you do? It's like,
this isn't a choice you should have to make in limited.
No, these are no wrong answers, and
these
you're gonna have to pass
never having to be made before.
What? Yeah, it's
there's
absurd.
No wrong choice. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. Well, and to your point though, the next person is gonna look at this pack and go, Railway Brawler, what did you keep? Well, Bonnie Paul. Like, well, okay.
Right, like Gisa, what did you take? Are you kidding me? It used to be I was like, I got past something crazy a long time ago. It was a demon and it was epic and it was wonderful and I was like, and it was past to be picked 2 and I was like, are those good drugs?
Yeah, right.
I can't do that anymore because all the drugs are good.
They're all good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it was just like, I don't understand this at all.
Yeah.
No, and these are not going to lead to the games that I love about limited.
Mm-hmm.
So the question here, though, one question for you, though. In that particular image, what's the correct pack 1, pick 1?
There isn't actually.
Yeah.
You have to look at check out that image.
One.
Okay, so let's talk through this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So ideally,
I'm gonna blow it up for the we're gonna be covered for a sec. Let's dive in. All right.
What has to have multiple things go right to play it? So normally when you're looking at draft and you're looking at bombs, you don't usually expect 2, but now let's expect you to have more than 1. Here we have 3. You are going to be looking at, are they monocolored first? Usually that used to be the case,
right?
Because you want to make sure that you're more likely to be able to run them, and it's more likely that you'll be able to pick a second color down the line. Mm-hmm. So Brawler and Gisa would normally be the picks there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you look at Bonnie Paul and exactly how much it reads, I win the damn game.
Yep. By a lot.
Because the other 2 actually need to have 1 or 2 things go right for them. You need 1 or so more other cards. So Gisa needs something to target. That can just be a desert. Or it needs something. And black has removal, so it should be fine. But it's at 5, and it's an interesting thing. Railway Brawler also at 5. Usually. Could be 4, but mostly usually at 5. And it needs another card, a creature. Right. So Bonnie Paul doesn't need anything.
Yeah, it's a little
6. But 6 isn't all that different from 5 or 4 in this format to some degree, because there are accelerators and it can go crazy. Now,
yeah.
No,
it's just nuts to me because, I feel like in the not too distant past, I would look at a card like Whaleway Brawler or Gisa and basically just say, yeah, they ask something of you, but not really. Like,
no, they're still nuts. They still ask you. They still win by asking you to play the game.
But exactly.
And that's
but
how you know
the crazy thing is,
crazy card is if it wins just by you doing the normal things you would do.
But you're exactly right.
Creatures or targeting your opponent with something. Right. So that's why Gisa and Railway are so sick. Bonnie Paul doesn't ask any of that of you.
Bonnie Paul's a little better if you have a creature down that can attack the first turn that she drops. But even if not, you're still not mad. You're having a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other 2 can be removed by single pieces of removal. Bonnie Paul can't. Now, the next thing you would do was look at the rest of the pack normally and be like, okay, what do I expect to wheel?
Sure.
What do I think is going to come back out of this? But that doesn't happen anymore because nothing's wheeling that matters.
I mean, hey,
because
we have to take up the shield right there.
Cards in the pack.
I mean, we got well. That's it. It's funny
What's
too because
actually wheel out of this is Jin or failed forwarding, maybe Rodeo Pyromancers, maybe Seas. Nothing else of this pack is or Caught in the Crossfire is hard to make work. Sometimes people don't really run it because it's much more of a sideboard card. So if there were best of 3. Caught in the Crossfire probably won't wheel.
Okay.
It might wheel in best of 1. But you're not getting Rutstein, you're not getting Shepherd, you're not getting Tyrant Scorn, you're not getting Raven, and you're not getting Take Up the Shield.
Right. Yeah,
those are not wheeling. So you're getting
wild.
Pretty draggish, although, Failed Forwarding is a fine interactive spell. And it's not like the others are unplayable. It's just they're not exciting at all. So you're not picking any of these rares or mythics based on the rest of the pack like you used to do.
Yeah, that it's wild too because it's funny because this pack actually has some really great commons and uncommons in it as well, and they're not even
absolutely. Rutstein's a house of a card.
Oh yeah, but it's not a consideration.
So is Shepherd.
Like it's not even in the question. You just look at that and go like, man, the person 4 seats down is going to really enjoy picking this up. Like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is like, they're going to be picking up Shepherd or Honest.
Right.
Pick 5.
That's bananas.
That's not okay. Those are mythic uncommons.
Yeah.
And yet, this pack makes that likely.
Now,
in fact, certain.
Yeah. Now, in all fairness, we're looking at Caleb D MTG, who's a streamer, content creator. Obviously, this pack specifically was selected because it was just so bonkers. Like, this isn't necessarily the norm.
Yeah, but in MK,
it's not
in
crazy.
MKM, I had a choice between the giant 6/6 dragon that you can, when it hits your opponent, you pull stuff from your graveyard equal to a casting cost and wipe their board.
Incinerator,
or War Leader's Call.
Oh,
and I took War Leader's Call because it's the stupider of the 2 stupid cards.
Yeah.
So it's just
no. So this is
even being 2 colors.
Now. Yep.
So there's so many things going wrong with these in the limited formats for the games that are interactive and interesting to play and skill intensive to some degree, right? I mean, if you could always guarantee that everybody gets the same number of bonkers rares, then maybe, but that's what standard is supposed to be.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what constructed
that's
is for.
Literally, and the thing that really depresses me about this overall is that limited was supposed to be the equalizer format. This is supposed to be the one where, okay, you can't afford a butt ton of rares and mythics. You can pay this set fee and you have a chance at getting good stuff. But that chance of getting stuff that'll break the game is so small that it matters so much about all the other stuff that, like the deck construction, the reading signals, the the choosing for your curve, etc. Like all of that matters way more than the rares and mythics. That was what was supposed to be great about this format. And I know there are people who love all the new, rares and stuff and all happening all at once. And I'm not trying to poop on their experience. This is just not what I like, not what I enjoy about Limited. And so, I get it if you like it, but I am not a fan. I hate it. Like I literally watched Echo 5 Bravo last night have to like stop streaming because he got hit by Jasper Flint. Sorry, Bristly Bill first, then Jasper Flint, then something else. The opponent literally discarded the one-sided Wrath and then Crackle with powered him for the finish. And that's not fun. Like I have been winning games. I have a bunch of tournament winning decks that we can put up. Like a tournament winning deck and a bunch of trophies, sorry, I should say. And at one point I was just doing all the stupid things and just hating myself. Because it didn't take skill. I just played a card and I just said, can you answer this right now? Or if not, you're done. Like, they claimed, apparently, I don't know who's, like chat told me this, I'm not sure exactly who said it, but they claimed to have increased the amount of removal in this set, like in part by the bonus sheets, because some of the bonus sheets are just like, Fierce Retribution and Skewer the Critics and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of removal, but it's not enough. It's not enough to handle these bombs. And so it's just it's so crazy to me. That these are the way it is. Like, so I'll have, and then the like I said, the league exacerbates that. So you can see that in the tournament, I didn't need quite so many bomb rares. I did have synergy. So that was the main thing there is when you're in pod, you don't necessarily, it equalizes out a little bit more. Not always, but a little bit more. In theory, just because unless really literally everybody's avoiding one color and one person gets all of that.
Right.
But it equalizes a little bit out when drafting and playing in pod. But in League, the convenience of League is wonderful in that you can play your games whenever, but you will also be playing against other pools of cards. When they drafted, they were drafting from another pool of cards that could have been way stronger than the pool of cards that you drafted with, and they could have all had like 5 or 6 bombs. Now let's take a look at Kenji's first trophy.
Okay.
So this is Numat the Nummy, Kenji Egashira, one of the amazing streamers of Limited, one of the original streamers of Limited.
Yep, he's been around,
and this is a 7-0
for a long time. Yeah.
And this is a deck with Bonnie Paul, which we've gone over, Oko Thief of Crowns, we've gone over, Unlicensed Hearse, which in this set is not only amazing as it always has been amazing because you can remove their graveyards, get rid of their graveyard synergies, but it commits a crime when it does so.
Yeah, absolutely silly.
Pest Infestation, which remember, you don't need artifacts to just make 1 million black pests.
Right.
Yeah.
Tokens.
Yeah, the pests, they just make pests. Here, I'm covering
Fibblethip, which allows you to plot things from the top of your deck. Geralf, which I really think they should have paid attention to that name. It says Flesh Right.
Right.
But that's not what I read sometimes.
Yep.
But it is a sick card because whenever you cast your second spell of the turn or spell beyond the first, you put a zombie token into play with as many +1/+1 counters as spells you've cast beyond the first. So if you cast 2 spells in a turn, right, you get a 2/2 with a +1/+1 counter. But if you cast 2 spells beyond your first, you get the idea.
Zombie Storm. Yeah.
Yeah, naturally.
Of course.
I think one of the 3 drops is a rare, but I don't know which one it is.
Free Strider Lookout.
I don't remember those.
Oh, Free Strider Lookout. I love Free
Strider Lookout. Yeah, it's a 3/3 that can get you land, I think, whenever you commit crimes.
When you're committing crimes, yep.
Yeah, and remember that Unlicensed Hurts. That's just getting you lands to make sure you hit your land drops to get to your Bonnie Paul and Cactarantula.
Also, they have Sandstorm Salvager there, and that's a mythic from the Big Score. That makes you 3/3 golem.
That's also, so anyway, That's also oh god.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is just literally nearly a constructed deck. The commons and uncommons don't matter in this.
Yeah.
They just don't. All they're doing is sitting there until a bomb is played, or being the extra spell cast to make more zombies or do more things. I mean, the Raucous Entertainer puts +1/+1 counters on things that Bandit accelerates. That's the plant rogue. Yep. The Failed Forwarding is a little bit of interaction, but we don't actually care about interacting in this deck beyond Oko.
Silly.
Like, I feel just, and the Decisive Denial fights. Like, there's, if somebody beat this deck, I would throw a party. Like,
right.
Like, unless you get no mana or all mana, you are not going to lose with this deck.
Yeah,
it's just insane. Not possible.
I feel like there have been times when I've seen stuff. I mean, yeah, this is one of those where you could take these rares and kind of tweak the support package and run it in historic and not get embarrassed. Like, it's absurd. Yeah. You know, like,
exactly.
Banned,
so
but you know what I'm saying. Like,
who had fun playing against this? That's what I want to know. Like, who was just sort of like, I have a chance. And then that's the thing, is it gets more and more demoralizing because they play the first rare and you're like, and you take care of it and you're like,
yep.
Okay, I've got the game from here. I can make this work. I've got my synergies online. I can do stuff. And then they play the Oko.
Right.
And then you take care of the Oko. You use a lot of resources trying to take care of the Oko, if you even can. Right. Then they Pest Infestation. Or Bonnie Paul.
It's like, good luck.
Or Geralf into a Loan Shark.
Right. Yeah.
So they get to draw a card, get a 3/4, and get a 3/3. Like how are you going to? Yeah, and yeah. So it's play silly. Boosters, in my opinion, are a horrid decision, and they should be walked back. Yeah. I also thought the same thing about set boosters. By the end, when they were saying, "Oh, this is causing draft boosters to people not to want to buy draft boosters." I also thought that they should have walked that back. But again, they don't seem to walk things back. They don't seem to acknowledge a mistake in the way that would actually fix it. They seem to acknowledge a mistake and then compound it.
Yeah.
I thought the whole idea of play boosters as well was to simplify what you needed. Or what you were going to, like, let's have one booster. Let's consolidate one booster. Now the problem is they're cramming.
Back to draft.
Yeah, and so all of it is now getting funneled into draft. And to Carlos' point earlier, like, you're opening standard packs and you're getting a whole bunch of non-standard stuff.
Look at this pool for just a moment.
How does that make things easier?
Look at this
Carlos,
pool again for just a moment here.
Yeah.
Okay. Pest Infestation.
Yep.
Not standard legal. Oko, not standard legal.
Nope.
Unlicensed Hearst is.
It is standard legal
for a couple months.
Won't be once Bloomburrow drops. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, like, we're talking about 3 bombs that are given to you that I can't play in a standard deck. But I gotta take it because it's a bomb so I can win my draft.
Yep.
Right?
That and most of the other ones won't be played in standard.
Yeah.
They're just miserable to play against in limited.
Right.
That's all they are. Like, they're not powerful enough for whatever reason for standard, but I win the game bombs in limited.
Exactly. Yeah, and Bonnie Paul kind of fits the same thing I was talking about, Vaultborn Tyrant. Like, very powerful, like, definitely good, but in a format where people can pack their deck with 8 board wipes.
Yeah.
A good 6-drop that puts 2 bodies on board just isn't. Yeah, exactly. It's too easy to answer.
Like, Control has such an easy time with that.
Oh yeah, like all day. Like, honestly, if you Control players, if you play Bonnie Paul,
who are they printing these cards for?
I believe.
Because they're not printing them for standard players. They're printing them in a way that annoys the hell out of limited players. Like, many of these will not be played in Commander. Some of them will. Absolutely.
No, but even then, actually, even if you're a Commander player, are you interested in Bonnie Paul? Because, like, a Simic good thing that draws cards and puts lands down, we have way more efficient options.
We have
for
a lot of them, yes. I mean, maybe you're still interested in it, but I think Geralf is the only one. Yeah, Geralf might actually find a or maybe Fibbles. Fibbles has got a place in things that like don't want to pay mana for spells. Like, if they cast a spell with 0, because the plotted spells cost 0, you're not spending mana to cast them. They are being cast, so they can be countered, but you're not spending mana to cast them. So there are some, commander themes about that.
Fair, totally.
But again, these are like fringe cases to some degree. Like, I mean, there are cool cards, but they don't need to be more than one in a pack, I promise. For limited.
It's definitely a bummer.
Now, I like that, prices go down for, more rares, but if you're not going to be playing them, if the prices aren't going down for standard, then why are you doing this? Well, like, that was the whole point, right? Is print more rares, more easily accessible. You can buy the pack and get more rares in it and fill out your standard deck for cheaper. No.
Well, and why not take the breaking news sheet? Why couldn't that have been like an on-themed remaster set or something that was a separate product completely?
Well, and maybe it would be a separate product because they never sell it because Aftermath didn't sell.
But I'm saying, like, make it a remaster set with a whole bunch, like, juice the reprints to the moon. Put in all kinds of bonkers reprints that we need extra copies of. Get it Doubling Season in there. Get Ristic Study in there. Get, friggin' Mana Crypt back in there. Like, reduce the price on all of those cards, but have it separate. Make it a different booster that isn't touching this. I don't know. But, like, they have master sets. That's a thing. That is a tool in their toolkit. Why are they putting those into the standard packs?
I don't know. I really hate it, and I know that New Matanami, again, who has been streaming Magic for like decades, over a decade.
Well before all of us arena whippersnappers showed up. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Has literally gave up on MKM. Was playing any other game but Magic. PJ Trick played the pre-release of this, the early access streamer event for like 30 minutes, and it was like, I'm out. I'm not doing Magic for now. Because the bombs, like that hurts. Like I said, this is not normally what we do. Now, I can't speak for anyone in particular, so I don't know what, I do know that Newmont was very miserable about the experience of MKM, because I did watch some of the YouTube vids. But I don't know how Newmont's feeling about this set, but I do know PJ Trick is out. Like, once you start putting more and more rares in a pack, again, why are you printing commons and uncommons?
Yeah.
Like, if that's the whole thing, if you're like, people are only buying packs for the rares, so to keep making them buy packs, we need to add more rares. That's not a limited environment.
No.
Yeah.
And
so that's why the remix artifact draft was actually the most popular thing recently that people were playing. It only had one rare or mythic.
Oh,
and it had 3 uncommons as usual. And then it had like 8 commons and an artifact land. And it was a good time. And it was a good format. I'm not saying I don't know exactly how well it was balanced overall, but it wasn't this.
But it felt like draft. It felt like a classic draft. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Or at least a little bit more, because it was still higher power than normal draft to some degree.
Yeah.
But because it was much more synergistic in terms of like just the artifact synergies. But yeah, to some degree. But I worry about Limited at this point. I worry a great deal about the future of Limited in terms of what I enjoy about Limited. And especially because as a Limited streamer, like I said, I used to go infinite, or nearly at the very least.
Sure.
And I think even the best players are finding their records are tanking with this. Because the added variance of there's just certain unwinnable games beyond the like, okay, I didn't draw the proper mana and blah, 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 or the proper card sequence.
Yep.
Right? There's already variance of that way. But now there's the variance of, did my opponent just cough up like 4 rares in my direction?
Right.
And it's it's interesting too, because I remember watching the stream when they were talking about the change to play boosters, and you had Morrow on the show, and I'll never forget him saying, if we didn't make the switch to play boosters, Limited was going to go away. And I was like, first I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, you could just keep draft boosters. You don't have to do what you want to do.
Kill set boosters. That was your mistake.
Yeah.
Because you already have collector boosters. Like, just
collector and set.
Middle ground. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
like we said at the time, it was such disingenuous reasoning too, because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna make it simpler," and I'm like, "Okay, but you could make it simpler the other way. Make it draft, make it cheaper."
And then in the same moment, I think it was Matt Tiback says, and I apologize if I just butchered his name, but said at the same time, because they were answering questions, are costs going to go up for the products? And he was like, well, if it's only going to go up, it might only go up by $1, and that's not... That doesn't put, that's not an issue. And I'm like, well, it is, because if it's $1 per pack, like, and I'm thinking, how much is a pre-release box then going to cost for somebody? You're talking about increasing that price, $6-7, plus whatever the store wants to charge to add prize to the pool.
And profit.
It's lucky to find a store if they're going to do a pre-release for like $30 or $35. People are not spending $50 for a pre-release. They're just not going to go, and that's going to make...
It's already an expensive hobby, and you're going to really just gouge them further, and you're going to create you're going to make it so that the format that was sort of the one where you could go infinite if you were pretty good, and keep, acquiring... Like, basically, I would also go infinite in person, because I would be able to win enough that I could get my free entry into the next draft, as well as the prize packs. Or just free entry into the prize... Sorry, it would just be free entry into the next draft.
Right.
And then I would be able to keep the cards, and those cards would be the profit.
There you go. Yeah.
So it was a fun time, and I paid for a good experience, even when I lost. But I also might be able to actually, make up for the investment. And now I have to buy gems more frequently, and that makes streaming less profitable.
Right.
So it's a whole other thing, because, I mean, how much would you love Timeless if it were paid?
If I had to pay for Timeless events, absolutely not. I would
hate it, right?
I would absolutely hate
arbitrary.
it. Yes.
It's not completely arbitrary. There is skill. I'm not trying to... Sorry, I didn't really mean arbitrary.
No,
but I mean, sometimes it's just you get a bad matchup.
And when you're playing at that high of a power level, one good top deck or one bad top deck can decide the
whole
game.
Difference. Yeah,
it can. It absolutely can. Which with lower power
or one minor
formats,
mistake,
you generally
right, can just be the entire game.
Yep. Yeah, one sequencing
just
error.
The decision of did I play this tap land or this other one, right? Yeah. And you happen to draw the card that punishes you for that, right? Even though
when do you crack your fetches,
right?
those kind of things. Those decisions matter. But
limited players have to pay to play the game.
Right.
And even the best who can go infinite are seeing their numbers go down a bit.
And even then, you can go
the ones
infinite,
like me who are good but not great. Numbers
you
go down a lot.
What are you talking about? But okay. Anyway, I know you weren't fishing for that, but it's true. But I get what you're saying. All of a sudden, there is
I'm not on the level of people like Nummy and Ham. So the Ham
TV,
TV. Kyle Rose, pro player, former, and PT champ, etc.
I kind of love it, by the way, because I stream under the name Ham, and there's another Magic streamer named Ham. Coincidence, it just happened that way. I was on
TV, for the Hamhawks 42.
And also, fun fact, my legal name is Graham, so I'm a Magic content creator named Graham, but no, not the Loading Ready Run Graham, different Graham. Anyway, so
I'm Ariana. I don't have any trouble with this. But yes,
I love it. Anyway,
those people they're always going infinite, and they're doing really well. But and they still are probably infinite like this, but their win rates are still going down.
I'm sure. Yeah.
They're not what they were, and I don't know how that affects their enjoyment. I don't think it'll affect their bottom line too much, because again, I think they're still sort of going infinite, but I haven't checked in with Kyle or anything like that. But for me, it is a real consideration, because I had to buy, for the first time in MKM, I had to buy gems in 10 months.
Oh, wow.
So, I had to buy twice. Of course, that was because I did spew gems on an open, I think. But that's because the sealed is so arbitrary, because you're facing 2 or 3 Ezrams, right? Really?
Right.
What? So it's just, and the seals are more miserable, and the opens are first sealed, then draft. So like it's just brutal because sealed is even worse about this because you can line up against somebody who got like 6 crazy mythics, like we saw with Tupperware and the pre-releases. So it makes the opens even worse of an investment because you have to do $25 a pop to try that. And so they're great content, but they're, like, and I love the game and I love chat, but again, it's something in the back of my mind of like, okay, this is not something I'm going infinite in anymore. So it is a real investment in that way. And I have to sort of weigh that against what I make streaming, which, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't even make a lot there. So
yeah.
So it's just a consideration. And I worry that Wizards won't walk this back in the same way they didn't walk back set boosters. And I worry that it might even get worse. So I don't know what measure of impact streamers complaining will have on this. I have no idea. I will probably write something up at some point and see whether I can post an open letter. But as of right now, I'm not enjoying play boosters for the very reasons that we predicted in our previous episode, which again will be linked below.
Absolutely.
So our predictions, all of ours, because multiple people made predictions that time, including Carlo and Tam.
Yep.
They were all true. And that's a shame because we were all hoping they wouldn't be. We were all hoping that the game designers knew better than we did as players and experiencers of the game and as store runners and people who understand the finances of the Magic community and how not all of us are wealthy people, but we do love our, paying for our cardboard. There's a point at which we won't do it, and MKM was a bit of that threshold, and I'm wondering about this.
I mean, the fact that Newmont had to take a break from Magic is really startling. Because
we're people who can play Magic for 12 hours, 24 hours, as long as our bodies are literally able to focus on the words.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, exactly.
We'll play. We love Magic that much, and for Newmont to be like, I'm out.
Yeah, and if you're not...
For me to be like, this is miserable.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm not even really having fun when I'm throwing bombs at other people.
Right.
Like, I love winning. I'm very competitive, but
winning feels good, sure. Yeah,
but that didn't feel good.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good. It was really bad. And because I know on the other side of that, I would have just been cursing at the screen. There's the level of profanity in my streams correlates exactly with the advent of bonus sheets and Mom and Crimson Vow and boosters, play boosters.
That is my stream also has that, even though it's mostly constructed. So that translates to standard. I can tell you that. The frustration level. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's only a handful of cards, and it's really kind of funny. The salt factor in standard isn't a lot of the same cards as you see in limited. Like Deep Cavern Bet, Rafine, Sunfall. Everybody hates Sunfall. That just is what it is.
Sunfall.
But
Does
anyway.
Jank still have the anti-Sunfall shirt?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. MagicJank.com. There's there's an anti-Sunfall.
Maybe as a lovely present on New Year's or something, or Christmas or something, we can get one of the for those to the team.
That'd be amazing. Yes. Super fun. But yes. But yeah. So
check that out on MagicJank.
MagicJank.com, the online marketplace where you can buy and sell Magic the Gathering products and gear. We're all super biased, but
that's
plug. Yeah.
They support our team really well. They're caring. Yeah. They listen. They are doing something that I think is a really support-worthy endeavor, in that they are trying to create an alternative to the eBay-owned TCG Player. And I've been seeing a lot of problems with TCG Player recently. Carlo probably knows more about that than I do. But Jank is doing good work, in my opinion. So I'm proud to be supported by and trying to support them grow.
Oh. Love it. Thank you. Yeah. But yes, MagicJank.com.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it. I never know quite how hard to plug and shill, but yes, it is a marketplace with.
We plug in. You like
we plug in, baby.
What we got the jankiest cards for your spiciest brews.
Absolutely, yes, that is the idea. So yeah, super duper fun.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But yes,
so great,
including sealed products as well as singles and whatnot. So
yes, and you can sell on MagicJank as you could on TCG Player. So
Indeed.
Post your collections and see who bids.
Yep, that is an option.
And if you want a Headology Magic huge table mat,
that is an option.
you can
it's so
also
pretty.
get
I have
that
it on my table.
Yeah. Oh, the table mats are awesome.
I was like,
by the
this
way,
is the best.
Yeah. No, I've got the MagicJank.com one. Actually, it's fine. I have a couple
if you want a Luna,
anyway.
the Luna stuff, right?
Yes, yeah.
You have Luna stuff.
Luna
she
gear
was
and
on camera earlier. I didn't want to interrupt you to point her out, but she was being adorable.
She's here.
Luna is the cat.
She's laying right next to me. She's kind of like. So for those of you watching at home, she is to the right, but she is now laying down instead of staring at me.
Yes,
it's so funny. So for those of you who are watching this, if you tune into my streams at all, Luna is always there. I have a cat cam for her, and so she has trained chat to give her treats. But because of this, I work from home 3 days a week, and in office 2 days type of thing. So she now thinks every time I log on a Zoom meeting for work, or anytime I'm talking to my PC, I'm streaming.
Get treats.
So she thinks that she can come up and beg for treats. So you'll see her randomly come up and she'll hop up and tap my shoulder and stuff like this and meow at me because she'll think, hey, are treats coming? Like, what's going on? And other times she'll be looking into the cat cam because she sees it. She knows if she looks into it and meows, somebody will give her a treat.
Oh,
so,
God, adorable.
She's here, yeah.
I find it so fascinating. Like, yeah, Luna's adorable, but like I have a cat as well who will occasionally hop up on my lap and like be part. But she's really just gonna get some snuggles and then just leave. Like once she's good, she does not play to the camera at all. Whereas Luna's like, Luna is super attentive and really plugged in during the stream in a way that I've never seen a cat like focus, and it's really cool. Yeah,
I bet we could train with treats, probably.
Yeah.
I just don't want. I mean, Halder's a bit of a chonker as it is.
Oh my goodness!
Here she comes.
The cuteness.
There she is.
She's here. She knows we're talking about her.
Yep.
And she'll give me the side eye. It's great.
I love it.
Oh, that's adorable.
So so expressive. Oh my goodness.
So yes,
good stuff. But yes, so yeah, if you want to,
in conclusion, can we show the GIF that I put up? Because poor Echo was getting back online today and was griping about it.
Oh no, which one is this?
This was the first one.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So in conclusion, this is how I feel about play boosters.
Mm-hmm. This is it. All right. Pardon the cropping, everybody. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Yeah. So Echo 5 says, ready for another night of rares on rares on rares? Play boosters are great. And the sarcasm is dripping.
Oh, yeah.
They say you can't tell sarcasm.
And I say, to Watsy are a play boosters. And I have a lovely gif of Hugh Laurie as House saying, what's the opposite of thank you?
That's it. What is the opposite?
And that's how I feel. Again, I apologize if you love play boosters and what they've done to Limited. If this is your thing, if you wanted this, I'm really happy for you. I am sad for myself. That's all.
Yeah. Being a Commander player, walking away from my pre-release with a whole bunch of rares and mythics that I can find decks for is neat. But it's not worth losing a whole, losing a rich, dynamic way to play the game. It's just not. So, yeah. But yes, thank you all for tuning in.
Sorry to end on a downer of a note,
it's okay.
But
hey,
Magic is still a wonderful game, and
absolutely.
If I have to find new ways to play it, I will.
Magic's a phenomenal game. I think it is definitely my favorite game, and I have a feeling I'm not alone in that feeling. Nope. And the thing is, criticism like this comes from a place of love. We want it to be as good as it possibly can be.
Oh yeah.
But that's the bottom line. We want it to be amazing, and we want everyone to understand and see how amazing it is. And I know for me, whenever it takes a turn that is less than amazing, and I am terrified of players being like the less enfranchised players being turned off and leaving. Yeah. That scares me to no end. Because like right now, Magic is killing the game. We've got players all over the place. But if we're on a trajectory that is going to alienate large chunks of the player base,
newer or already enfranchised players, if it's going to alienate both at the same time, which frankly these play boosters apparently are.
And I want to make it abundantly clear. I feel like Magic is thriving right now, and it looks like Magic is growing. Like we see that sales numbers and convention attendance. People are definitely interested and enthusiastic about the game.
No.
I'm not trying to make any kind of like, Magic is dying, statements. It's just when it looks like a large course correction isn't targeted the right direction, that's scary for the future. That's all. Yeah. So hopefully we can get back on track.
And like we said at the last podcast too, or at least that I mentioned, was something that I loved seeing at the end of the last standard RCQ season, were players who hadn't even ventured into playing constructed Magic outside of Commander before, and also players who had never played paper Magic before. They only picked up Magic through Arena, and they wanted to bring the deck that they were playing on the Arena ladder to their local RCQ. And that's how you know that, one, Arena is working and doing its thing. But two, that, whatever type of product's being released, whether it's digital or paper, is bringing new people to the game to come and be engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always fantastic. So I like that we're seeing that, even though, we talked a lot of crap on play boosters, but rightfully so. Just to echo you, we love this game, right? Our criticisms are coming from a good standpoint, right? So we just want to see it continue to grow and be good, but not in some of the ways that we discussed that they're doing, destroying a limited format.
Thriving, inclusive community with a bunch of different ways to interact with the game.
Yep.
And we think that they are economically viable if they're run correctly.
Yep.
Yes. All right. So here's hoping that moving forward, ultimately, I'm just trying to recap in a positive framing. Ultimately, we're hoping that we can we look forward to the day when everyone is able to play the game exactly the way they want to play and have an amazing experience. That's the goal.
And we wait for the release of Bloomborough with 5 bonus sheets. No.
I'm gonna cut it there, right?